Hey everybody, welcome to the Wednesday show. It's going to be a little bit of a change of pace here today. We're going to have some fun talking about some my life and that of my dad, who, as many of you know, passed away just about a week and a half ago. So I'm going to do a few shots of him with his wife, his family, his loved ones, and then we'll be back to talk about how it all connects to Las Vegas, because it does. Later. So, my love for travel and adventure, which is what eventually led me to visit Las Vegas, is perhaps hereditary. As a child and into my teenage years, and even after I went away to college, the one of the highlights of every year was our sort of family vacation. And it was never like get on a plane and fly somewhere. It was always sort of a classic road trip. Think Chevy Chase. Although Dad was a little bit more, quite a bit more competent than Chevy Chase, but we traveled all over as far as we could go, really. Dad was a farmer, and the summertime is a very busy time on the farm. And one of the major obstacles to us getting away on trips was the fact that the corn had to be irrigated unless it rained. So our family vacations, we might have kind of planned out the idea where we were going to go and approximately how long we would stay, but the timing of it was kind of spur of the moment. There was, in the later years there was, but early on there were no reservations. We got a big rain. It was like, okay, we're leaving in the morning. And Dad loved to drive, not like drive straight through, but he could easily drive 8-10 hours a day. But if there was a historical monument, we stopped. If there was some kind of a scenic wonder, we stopped. And of course, we obliterated the beauty of every scenic wonder with a picture of myself in front of it. We traveled over much of the western part of the U.S. We didn't get all the way out to the West Coast because typically we only had something like 5 to 7 days before we had to get back. And again, it pretty much had to be like July, August, because I went back to school at the end of August. But yeah, later on we did travel to some larger cities. One year we had a very short sort of turnaround time. We came down to Kansas City and went to a Royals game. And that was really exciting to me because I was a huge baseball fan. I could pretty much name every player on every team. And so over the next few years, as I got a bit older, we did travel a bit around and see games in different cities. We went to Minneapolis, we went to Chicago. I think we saw a game in St. Louis at one point. And I think we went back to Kansas City once or twice as well. Dad didn't love driving in big cities. He did a pretty good job, but again, that was not his true love. His true love was the mountains and the waterfalls and lakes and things like that. So we saw a lot of that. I would guess probably before I was 16 years old, I'd probably been to like 20, 25 states. And again, the major restriction there was just how long it took to get there and get back. Because we didn't have that thing. We were very, very frugal travelers. Pennies for Vegas would have been very, very proud of us. We normally, we would have something for breakfast, typically not a big giant breakfast, and then we would typically have a picnic lunch somewhere. Where they pack up literally like bread and cheese and lunch meat and things like that. We would stop along the side of the road somewhere and eat, and then we would have dinner somewhere. And oftentimes the dinner was at a truck stop because we were told that truck stops were good, inexpensive food, and sometimes they were. Sometimes it was pretty mediocre. The motels were typically those sort of roadside motels that you might see on old Route 66 videos. Maybe not, it wasn't quite that old. It was back in the 70s, but let's just put it this way. If we got to stay at a Best Western, that was a huge luxury property for us. But I loved motel rooms, even cheap ones. I still do. Just came back from staying at one for 5 days. There's just something about sleeping somewhere different that was always kind of fun. But yeah, we traveled all over. After I left to go to school, and my folks kind of retired, semi-retired, and then did retire from farming, they traveled a lot. And I know, just talking to Mom the other day, those memories mean a lot. You can talk about buying things, buying assets or whatever, but pretty much everything you buy, eventually you discard. But the memories that you make, you rarely, if ever, forget. Well, some people do, and we feel bad for those folks. But so those memories are priceless. And my folks traveled a lot without me after I moved down to Kansas and became sort of an adult. I mean, I'm not really still an adult, but I became kind of an adult. And even before that, on their 25th anniversary, which was back in 1976, which gives you an idea, they were together almost, well, they were together over 70 years. They were almost married 70 years. They flew to Hawaii and left me alone for like a week with my grandparents. It was okay. But yeah, I mean, some of the trips they made are just epic. And they traveled with friends and family. Two of their best friends were Don and Marie, and they traveled all over the country with them. And they traveled, in a sense, all over the world with them. They actually took, I think it was like a 3 or 4 week auto trip all the way, they drove all the way up to Alaska. And what an epic adventure that must have been. There is somewhere, there's a DVD, CD, something of this trip, but I don't have it. Eventually I will have it. And if I can figure out how to cut some of the imagery out of there, I will. But again, I'm sure it was a very frugal trip. But again, what amazing memories that must have been. My parents ended up, before they kind of couldn't travel anymore, visiting 48 of the 50 states, which is pretty amazing. They took trips around the Great Lakes and Niagara Falls. They took a bus trip all the way from Nebraska out to Washington, D.C. They drove to my first cousin, once removed wedding in upstate New York, and at the same time traveled up into Goodspeed Land. That sounds like a real place, doesn't it? Sounds like Goodspeed Land. Up to all the New England states, just to say that they've been there. I spent some time down in Florida, Miami, visited Georgia several times. They had relatives that lived down in the Atlanta area. They traveled all the way along the West Coast, California, Washington, Oregon. I mean, like I said, even as a family, we traveled through a lot of places, you know, Colorado, Wyoming, South Dakota. We had family down in Texas and Louisiana, so we visited there from time to time. So traveling was something that was in my blood, the idea that, you know, it was okay to get away. It's okay to spend a few dollars because those memories were, you know, priceless. And there's also somewhere, and well, I have photographs, there are also slides. And if there's any family actually watching this, the classic rare slideshows were an epic adventure. Pop popcorn, get drinks. It's going to be epic. Just a tremendous amount of fun there. But when I come back here in just a minute, after I show you this little tip from PJ, we're going to talk about my parents and their gambling problem. Well, actually, I have the gambling problem. I mean, they're drinking. Well, actually, I have the drinking problem. But we're going to talk about their trips to Las Vegas, and that should be fun. So, soon, we'll be back.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another Wednesday show, Cocktail Tip of the Day. So, today's tip is snacks. If you're doing a home bar and you're having friends over, you want some good snacks. Don't just do pretzels and popcorn and potato chips. Those aren't good snacks. I'm going to show you what I do. These are good snacks. First of all, get a nice little bowl. Second, I like to use trail mix and wasabi peas. You get a nice little bit of that sweet and salt. It's gonna make your friends or guests thirsty. You want them thirsty. So, ladies and gentlemen, Wednesday cocktail tip of the day, improve your snacks. I suggest trail mix and wasabi peas. Thanks for watching. Now, back to John. John? 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 He was here a moment ago. Oh well. Cheers, everybody. Good stuff.
What are you gonna do? That's PJ advising you on snack products. And if we're lucky, he'll be back next week with another cocktail related tip. So thanks for participating. I think PJ sent that to me a couple of weeks ago. We just managed to incorporate it today. I think we're gonna have a guest mixologist on Saturday. We'll probably see if PJ wants to come back and do the show the following week. But I had a number of folks who have been interested in participating in the program, contributing to the program, and we are certainly happy to have you if you are interested. So, hey, if you've got anything you want to contribute to the show, right under my head at this point should be J.R. Swift at VegasTipsTricks.com. That's where you can hit me up and let me know what you would like to contribute, because we'd love to have you on the show. And of course, if you have a YouTube channel or Twitter or anything like that, be happy to promote that. So anyway, some of my fondest memories over the past decade or so with Mom and Dad was our various casino-related trips. My and Dad were not originally big gambling fans. I remember growing up in the 70s and 80s, they'd be like, Las Vegas, we don't want to go there. But my parents ended up going everywhere. And at one point, I think it was back in the 1980s, and I am referring to notes here, so if I look down, they booked one of those sort of package tour things where you fly out on like a charter airplane or something. You book rooms, you book transportation. I think it was sometime in the mid to late 1980s. Mom wasn't really sure, and I really didn't want to push her on the exact dates. I only know a couple of exact dates on this whole retrospective, but they stayed at El Cortez. We love the El Cortez, or El Cortez, because inevitably someone corrects me and says that it already says the Cortez. You don't have to involve an English word. But regardless, they stayed at El Cortez for a couple of nights, and they stayed at the Sands for a couple of nights. I didn't know this, actually, that they had ever stayed at the Sands until a couple of days ago when I asked Mom about it, so I'm glad I did. And I don't know, that must have been like a 4 or 5 night trip. I'm guessing they probably went with some other friends, but apparently they enjoyed it. And in their later days, Mom and even Dad to some degree really began to enjoy gambling. They took a number of bus tours around their area, out to Council Bluffs, Iowa. I also took them up to Council Bluffs a couple of times a few years ago. We spent the night, had a good time, gambled. They went up to like Deadwood, South Dakota. They went up to Fort Randall, which is like, I think is like a Native American casino up just across the border into South Dakota. And they very frequently visited me. Well, maybe they visited me. Maybe they visited the casino and I was just a happy accident, but they There's a casino about 50 miles from where I live called Prairie Band. It's actually a really nice Native American casino and really easy comps because you never win any money there. Sorry, I never have. Maybe other people have. But so over the last 4 or 5 years that my parents came down and visited me, they frequently had room offers there at Prairie Band. So they would stay there for a couple of nights, and I would either drive up, have a buffet with them, play for a few hours, and then come back home. Or on some occasions, if it worked out, I would get a room myself, stay overnight, and we would visit some of the other local casinos. Mom loves to play the machines, even if there's no money involved. She loved to play the Win Slots app when I would let her play that. Recently, my cousin got her an old iPhone, and we downloaded 2 or 3 casino apps on there, and she enjoys it so much. Not about the money, it's just about having a good time. And hopefully, apparently the state of Nebraska is going to allow casino gambling at the limited number of racetracks that still are operating in Nebraska, and one of those is in Grand Island. So I hope that they get that up and running and Mom is still able to check that out. That would be so fun to bring her up there. And it would have been so fun to have shared some time in Las Vegas with Mom and Dad. We came very, very close the last time they were there, but I just thought I would mention some of their trips to Las Vegas and where they stayed. And like I said, they mentioned they had the trip where they stayed at El Cortez and Sands. They drove through with their friends Don and Marie one time and stayed at the one and only Circus Circus, something I haven't done, thankfully. She didn't say anything bad about it, but I mean, that was like 25, 30 years ago. It was probably in better condition than it is now. They had a couple of trips where it was just kind of, they were driving and they stopped in Vegas for a night. They stayed at the Riviera once, and they stayed at the Debbie Reynolds Hotel, which I think was at one time the Paddle Wheel, became like the WWF Hotel, the Greek Isles, maybe Clarion. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I usually am. But you know, those were just kind of overnighters. But I'm sure, like I said, the time that that Mom in particular spent in Vegas probably was what kind of caused her to get a kind of little itch for gambling, because she did and still does enjoy it. The last time they were in Las Vegas was back in 1997. The interesting thing about this is they went with my Aunt Donna and Uncle Larry, who may they rest in peace. My aunt died just over a year ago. My uncle's been gone for a couple of decades. Two of my favorite people. They went out there in 1997, sometime during the spring. They rented a car. They drove out to Hoover Dam. They went to Siegfried and Roy. They saw like a female impressionist show, which Mom was kind of like, but anyway, they did it. They stayed at the Luxor, and they stayed at the Plaza. The interesting thing is they stayed at the Plaza about a month or 6 weeks after I stayed at the Plaza. And I have to say that one of the disappointments of my life is the fact that I never got to spend time in Las Vegas with Mom and Dad. If you ever get that opportunity, do it, because you never know when that opportunity will pass you by. But again, like I said, part of what made me who I am was those family vacations, and part of what made me love Las Vegas was obviously that sense of adventure that I got from my parents. So hopefully you will remember Dad in your thoughts and prayers if you are so inclined. As I say, a little bit different kind of a Wednesday show. We'll be back on Saturday with Vegas Weekly, and appreciate all the many well wishes and all the sympathy that I've received over the that I and my mom have received over the past 10 days or so. I thank you so much, and it means a lot to us. And I hope this little reminiscence has been enjoyable to you. It's been enjoyable for me to share with you. And hope that you have a safe, healthy, lucky week. I'm getting my vaccine tomorrow. Well, today as you see this. In any case, we will see you soon. Bye-bye.